We continue to hear that more women are delaying having children. Some are trying to proactively plan for that by freezing their eggs. However, our next guest says the popularity of this idea is perpetuating false information. Rahi Victory is a doctor at Victory Reproductive Care in Windsor. He's also an educator with the Schulich School of Medicine. He joins me in the studio to talk about the cost of waiting financially and biologically. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming in. What types of clients are you seeing right now coming into the office seeking your help?
So we have a wide variety of clients, primarily women who are struggling. They've been struggling for more than a year to conceive, and so their physician is recommending they get evaluated. More and more, we are seeing women who are looking into options to delay fertility, so they are looking at egg freezing options as well. And then we also have a fairly significant clientele of same-sex couples as well.
How has it changed over the years? You've been doing this for about 20 years. How have those conversations changed?
Well, we talked way less about fertility preservation in the past. So that's really grown quite a bit. People in the past were just coming in to have a baby. Now people are coming in saying, I want to have a family, but I may not want to do that for several years. So they're looking at either egg freezing options, sperm freezing options, or storing embryos and banking them to use later on in life. So that part has really quite significantly changed for us.
Are you seeing an increase of older women coming in? Has that grown substantially?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
As people are struggling to make ends meet and there's economic troubles and so on, childbearing is being delayed for sure. And then there's career development as well. So there's definitely a bit of a delay in terms of attending to having a family. And that does take a huge toll on the chances of success.
Right, because of the stress that the woman's under? Is that what you're thinking, or?
Well, the biological
Oh, you mean the
changes.
time, being older.
Yeah.
What is the challenges once we hit 35 as women?
So there's several challenges. So number one, the number of eggs that your ovaries will produce will decrease. Number two, the quality of the eggs starts to decrease. So not only does it get harder to get pregnant, it gets harder to stay pregnant. Miscarriage rates become higher. And then the last problem is that you are facing a higher rate of genetic abnormalities. So things like Down syndrome and so on start to increase, and not everybody wants to continue with those pregnancies. So that becomes more complicated as well.
And it seems, only 5 years, but you were mentioning to me previously that there's a huge difference between 35 years old and 40 years old.
Yeah.
How many eggs are we talking at 35 do you need for a pregnancy versus if once I turn 40? That seems to...
Yeah, so there's two studies people refer to frequently, but in the one study they said at 35 you need about 12 frozen eggs to have one live birth, and in the other it was 15. By the time you get to 40, you're looking at needing over 40 frozen eggs to achieve one live birth. Now, it's different when we're talking about embryos because embryos do much better than eggs do. But when you're talking specifically about freezing eggs alone to preserve your fertility, for example, you're a single woman or you haven't found a partner yet, or you're just not sure, delaying that for egg freezing, you got to do it early. Don't wait.
Do women know that? Do you find you're having to educate women about that when they come in?
I actually find that women don't know that, unfortunately. And I think as a physician group, the reproductive endocrinologists really throughout Canada have not done a great job of informing people of that. We need to do a better job of educating and getting the message out that this is available, A, and B, if you're going to do it while you're young. Don't delay. I do find that many women are often disserved by the fact that they'll show up at a fertility clinic and even at advanced ages, they're saying, go ahead and freeze your eggs. But the chances of success are absurdly low when you're older. And so they're not really even at that point getting the right information necessarily.
What's involved in freezing your eggs?
So initial testing just to check hormones and your uterus and ovaries and so on. And then once you're in the clear, you have to take injectable medications for roughly about 10 to 12 days usually. And then about 2 days later, you show up in the clinic. They'll basically put you to sleep or get you as close to sleep as possible. And then we do an egg retrieval. So there's a transvaginal ultrasound and a needle, and we literally just suck the eggs out of the ovaries.
Wow. How much does that cost?
Well, it widely varies. So we're relatively inexpensive. For us, the whole package is about $6,000 for one try. That does not include the medications. But I recently actually had to do this for my own daughter out west, and she paid over $9,000.
Wow.
So yeah, the prices vary quite a bit even across the province. There's a huge variation, but our cost is six.
And you did this with your daughter?
I had to. So my daughter's ovary kept twisting
Okay.
ever since she was little. And unfortunately, with the fifth time that it twisted, she had to have it removed. So we didn't want to take any chances with the other ovary. So we said, let's freeze her eggs. She's out in BC for university, so we just kept it there.
Is there any coverage for this?
There is coverage, sort of, but not specifically for age-related or just career-related fertility
Proactive
preservation.
planning, really. Yeah.
No. So the government, thankfully, did come in and support our fertility program here in Windsor with funding, provincial funding. And there is fertility preservation, but it's primarily for cancer patients or patients who are going to lose all opportunity to have a child if they don't preserve their fertility sort of immediately. So it's not directed towards people that are delaying childbearing, unfortunately.
We know more and more women are holding off on having babies. We know our population is going down in Canada when it comes to birth. So just thinking of you as an expert who's in this world, what needs to change to make this more of an access for all women, not just women who can afford it?
Yeah, definitely more funding would be helpful. That's never a question. If we could get more, we would do more. I think we have to do a better job educating. I think physicians are probably lackadaisical about it because we're doing all the clinical work and we're so busy just treating the patients that we're not taking the time to be educators as well. So it is important for us to get out there, and we do a lot of social media work in our program, but I don't think enough other physicians are doing that to get the message out.
How do women know if their fertility care, when they're looking for fertility care, that it's the best partnership for them and it's not sort of, I'm taking a chance on this doctor, they're asking for a lot of money. How do I know if it's going to work? What are some of those key questions that women should be asking during that consultation?
So I talk about this a lot on social media, actually. So I think first and foremost, you have to have trust with your physician. That's critical. So you have to feel that they are listening to you, that they're hearing you, and that you're getting individualized care. I kind of rail against the cookie cutter medicine approach, especially in fertility, because it just doesn't work well. So number one, have that good relationship with your doctor. Number two, if they're pushing something on you immediately, that's probably not a great choice. So you want to be offered options and you want those explained and you want to know the risks and the benefits and so on. And then lastly, make sure that you're working with a clinic that has a good reputation, is clean, is new, has the best tech. I think all of that stuff is really critical. But the foundation is just making sure you have a good relationship. Unfortunately, these days, fertility is really big business, and big business has gone into fertility. So venture capital, private equity, they're buying up fertility centers. And there was a recent article in Bloomberg that looked at that and said that one company actually was pushing their doctors out if they were not doing enough IVF retrievals. So that kind of thing we need to be very careful with because you're compromising care when you're putting the bottom line as the bottom line.
It's a fascinating conversation, and I appreciate you joining us this morning and coming all the way to the studio so that we could have it. Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.